Welcome everyone to Real Estate with Gwen Price. And I'm happy to have again as a guest, Cory Frith with the Buyer's Choice Home Inspections.
Hi, Gwen. How are you?
I'm good, doing well. Yeah. And we're still in the middle of winter. I keep posting every week. We got another 6 weeks of winter weather before we get to spring, and even then we'll still be we won't be out of snow. So I know that poses at this time of year, it poses a bit of a problem for some things. And today we're going to have a really hot topic: attics.
Right? Oh my goodness. I always tell people when we're doing home inspections, every season allows us to see certain aspects of the home in a different light that we wouldn't have that advantage of. And speaking about attics, when we're up there in the summer, it should be nice and hot up there. And when we go up there in the wintertime, the attic should always be the same temperature as what's outside. And the nice thing about wintertime, even just driving up to a home, we're already looking at the roof line, we're looking at the eaves and the gutters. And if we see a nice full uniform blanket of snow on the roof, and there's no little patches of shingles popping through, it's a good indicator that they have some good insulation in the attic. Then you go by those homes and you see all the ice build up on the gutters, on the eaves, and it's thick.
Say, ice dams. Is that the right?
Ice dams. Yeah, and that tells us right away we have some warm air leaking into the attic space. So this is that time of year, especially when we have the extreme changes in temperatures that we've just experienced. When it's minus 20 and colder, I always encourage people to have a look up in your attic. It's not somewhere we go to often, unless you're hiding some money. But get up there and have a look. You might see a little bit of frost underneath the sheathing. When it's minus 25, minus 30, that's natural. It's so cold out. But when it's minus 10, minus 15, you still have that frost underneath your sheathing. That's something to potentially be concerned about. So if I share an example, I was on inspection, I guess 2 weeks ago, and we opened up the attic hatch, and the attic looked great. We had good insulation, good ventilation at the soffits. We had good roof venting as well. But there's one channel in the rafters. The frost was so thick, it just looked like a freezer. It had to be de-iced.
Wow.
So it was an isolated incident, and it ended up being the plumbing stack had come disconnected inside the attic space. So all that warm air was coming into that attic. And that's when we had that minus 30 weather.
Yeah.
So all that moisture going into the attic was instantly freezing underside of the sheathing. So where this becomes an issue now is when that starts to melt, all those droplets now are all dropping onto your insulation. And so now over time, this is all potential for mold growth in the attic if we don't get this issue corrected. And this is an attic that probably the vent stack was probably good shape for years. Maybe it got disconnected when they were redoing the roofing. We don't know. But that's why we always encourage people, just take a look. If it's fine this season and you had some work done on the exterior of the home, especially when the roofing was done, have a look the next winter season, make sure everything's still okay. And again, that's why I say when we drive up, these are indicators we're looking for. If you come home one day and you start seeing ice forming on the edge of your roof, and it was never there before.
Long icicles.
Right? Remember, there's kids grabbing those from all the homes. You go in the new neighborhoods today and kids don't know what you're talking about because they're all well built and well insulated, right?
Right.
But these are the areas in the attic you really want to pay attention to. And there's some long-term effects if we don't correct it. So if we don't have proper roof ventilation, you need the cold air coming in, but we also need a way for it to exit as well. You bring in that, because if your home's leaking air into your attic, that warm air carries moisture with it. What can happen with that if you have blown in or loose fill insulation is it gets damp over time, it gets weighted and it compresses. So now your insulation value, R value, now decreases as well. So it's just kind of, it compounds itself, right? The other issue on the outside of the home, when you have these insulation issues with your home, all that ice damming, when it melts, when it freezes, it actually starts to retract back up underneath the shingles. And if it gets past the ice barrier, the ice water shield paper they put down, now when that melts, it's going to start melting inside the home.
Had that happen. Yeah.
You had it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, why is my roof? Why is my ceiling? Why is it wet? Why is it dripping?
Yeah.
A friend of mine had his ceiling come down is in his son's bedroom. So this is potentially very dangerous, aside from just being damaging.
Right.
And now, for the sake of coming in, having an attic specialist, an insulation specialist come in and fix the insulation, it could cost you a couple thousand. But the event of not spending a couple thousand investing in your home, now all of a sudden you have that issue where ceilings are damaged, walls are damaged, the water may be going behind the wall, creating mold behind the wall. The outside of the home, the roof.
No, it does. It kind of just keeps, water is not our friend.
Not at all.
Well, at least not in a house when it's running somewhere, right? It's going to do some damage, and it tries to find its way through things, right? Lots of damage.
It finds its way, and on the roof line as well. The sheathing underneath the shingles, that becomes damaged. That becomes, if it's particle board, it starts to swell, right? Plywood can become moldy, can start to rot as well. So now the expenses just keep compounding and really keep accumulating. So this is where we tell people, get up there and have a look. Some other things you can be looking for when you open up your attic insulation hatch. Is the hatch itself, does it have insulation on top of it? A lot don't, unfortunately. So this becomes now an area again where the heat in your home, it does heat up that area around the hatch. And sometimes when we open up the hatches, first thing we look at is the perimeter around the hatch, the 2x6s or whatnot, however it's framed. Do we see mold? Do we see black spores? If we do, if the attic hatch isn't insulated, or where the hatch rests, is there weather stripping there? We want a nice tight seal there, keep the hot air in the home, not up there in the attic in the wintertime. I was on a job last week, and there's a little gap, like maybe a quarter of an inch, where the weather stripping didn't butt up against the other weather stripping along the other side, and the air was getting up there. And all along that one part of the attic access hatch, it was all black on that 2x6. Something that's easily fixed. Again, if we never look, a $2 weather stripping or $5 weather stripping starts causing damage in your attic.
Well, and you know what? Maybe it's not a bad idea to have somebody like you inspect your house, even if you're not even thinking about selling, because I think a lot of us are guilty of not looking at the house and finding those small little things, and those $5 things can become 500, 5,000 if they're let go. So sometimes just having an independent set of eyes looking at it, even if, like I say, even if you're not even thinking of selling, it might not be a bad idea, especially seniors too, right? Because they're not going to crawl up in the attic. They're not going to do those things when they get to a certain point. I know there's lots of things I can't do anymore. So to have somebody look at it is probably worth the expense to have somebody look at it, even if it's, a short period of time.
It's something we actually offer with our home inspections, with our clients when they have their home. We actually offer them an annual inspection. We'll come back after 12 months. Something that, a few people do use, especially those that are plan on doing renovations, or they know they're buying a fixer upper and they got to put that time, that work into it. And they'll have us come back in after a year and re-inspect, whether it's their work, their contractor's work, whatnot. Or then we have people that call us up. Basically what you're saying here, Gwen, is like a maintenance inspection. Can you come through and rewalk my property? And to your point, people maybe aren't comfortable on ladders. They can't get up there and check out the roof. They can't check out the caulk around the windows on the second story, that kind of thing. And we go through and basically it's a to-do list. Here's the deficiencies we found. They're minor in nature, but it's part of that preventative maintenance I'm always talking about with people. Doing that annual preventative maintenance, doing that annual preventative check to see if there's maintenance required can save you hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
And to have that peace of mind.
Well, it definitely affects the value. And oftentimes, again, it's stereotypical to talk about seniors all the time about this, but oftentimes, they're of an age where there's no one, they have to hire somebody all the time to do maintenance things, and they're worried about things, but maybe having somebody that can do what we're talking about, like a maintenance inspection, and those small little jobs that they can address now, rather than waiting till they become big jobs and it's forcing them out of the house because they can't afford that. So sometimes it's worth paying, a small amount of dollars to to save a huge amount of money possibly. So
Yeah.
no, yeah, I guess it's not a good idea to vent your bathroom into the attic either, eh?
Oh, were you on my inspection earlier today?
Because
Wow.
I've a number of times I've come across that.
Yeah, we see bathroom vents. People install their own a lot,
Yeah.
and they're either vented into the attic space. Again, all that moisture, all that humidity just coming into your attic
Yeah.
and freezing this time of year. Again, once it freezes and frost forms, now it's got to become a liquid at some point. It's going to go right back down to your insulation.
Yeah.
Or we'll see where they have them vented outside, but they didn't insulate the ductwork. Or we'll see them vented outside, but they go straight up like a chimney. And so what will happen now in the wintertime, all that moisture going up there eventually starts to freeze, and that frost forms inside that ducting.
Okay.
When it melts, turns into droplets, and all of a sudden people will say, we'll get a phone call like my bathroom exhaust fan, there's water coming out of it, it's dripping. We'll go up there and have a look, and it's just vented incorrectly. Yes, it's to the roof, but it needs to have like almost like an S slope to it, so that the droplets have somewhere to gather, rather than your bathroom exhaust fan on your bathroom floor.
Well, that brings to mind too, like the stack vent there. What saves it from water coming through that into your house? Like what?
Yeah, so with our plumbing stacks, they are just an open vent pipe out the roof, and we usually like to see them 6 to 12 inches extended above the roof line, and that's or above the shingles, and that's so when we get all of our snow, it doesn't get buried.
Right.
But when rainwater falls or snow melts, and if it comes in there, it's okay, because that actually goes all the way down into the lower part of the home and into the existing plumbing. So it's going to stay inside that piping and not come into not enter out to your home in your living space. So that's all right when that happens.
I guess as long as it's caulked properly, or what's word I'm looking for, whatever. What would you put around that thing to stop it from
there's
going
actually
in?
a flashing, a roof
That's the
flashing.
word. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and that's when we go up on the roof, we're inspecting these things, and it's tough in the wintertime to do that because it's buried in snow.
Yeah.
But spring, summer, fall, we're always checking around those collars to make sure, yes, the flashing is intact. We do have a tight seal there. Again, not an expensive piece to repair to replace if you brought in a roofing specialist. If we do notice deficiencies or defects there, easily rectified. Again, it's always about early detection, just like our own personal health.
Right.
Early detection really minimizes the damage and keeps the home operating efficiently and soundly as it should.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring a lot of good points that, and to make sure that you are looking at you just don't move in and forget about things, because over time, even if it's in perfect condition right now, in a year or 5 or 10, things start to deteriorate. We all do. So does your house, right? And so it definitely pays to do those checks, those maintenance things, and address the small issues.
Yeah, it's nice if you can get out there and do your maintenance check, maybe fall before the cold weather arrives. That way, if there's some caulking required around windows and doors, you can get it done before the cold temperatures. And then I always recommend you out there in the spring, after the snow melts, after the ice melts, again, check those areas, because sometimes, especially if we do some of our own maintenance, maybe the caulking didn't quite take and we have some splits, we need to redo it.
Yeah.
Or, we're all human. Human error. The contractor perhaps didn't, they missed the side. You never know. Mistakes happen, but then you can at least make the calls and have these people come back and correct things. But I always say, before and after winter, do a walk around your home, check the perimeter. And if you can't access the roof, like you said, if you can't access second story windows, at least those you can always maybe check from the inside, open up the window and just have a look. But definitely it's worth investing that 5, 10, 15 minutes in your home to inspect these little areas on an annual basis, because it can save you hundreds and thousands of dollars in damage.
Yeah, don't walk around like this. You gotta walk.
The problem won't go away.
No way.
It'll only worsen.
Well, Cory, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best number to reach you? Or
they can call me on my cell at 705-618-1396. If I don't answer, please leave a message. I will return your call immediately. It probably means I'm stuck up in an attic somewhere.
Yeah. We don't want you coming down the ladder with
Right?
all the reasons. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
but
that's
yeah, they
great.
can reach me there. Check out our website. It's buyerschoice.com/Sudbury. Lots of great information on there. We have some blogs on there as well with lots of great home ownership tips and maintenance tips to take a look for. And it even has our online scheduler. So if they're looking for an inspection, they can see my schedule on there and they can even book us online. I mean, today we do so much of our life. We do conduct online business. So
yeah, it's absolutely. And I think it's a really good idea for people to be thinking about, hiring you to do those maintenance checks. If they can't do them themselves, it's well worth it in the end, right? So
I agree.
yeah, thanks so much again, Cory, and we'll talk to you next month. We'll come up with another
pleasure.
topic.
Thank you for having me.
It's endless, isn't it? Hey, there's lots of topics, and when you own
Lots
a
to
house,
talk about with
buying a
homeowners here.
house, and yeah. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, bye.